Hi friends, I'm Kten here with Minerva, and today I'm going to bring you a little tutorial on how to pick fabric for your projects. This is one of the basics in hobby sewing, and it can make a huge difference in the outcome of whatever you sew. So we're going to run through a couple of fundamentals, just discuss the different characteristics between different types of fabric, and then we'll run through a couple of examples.
Let's discuss how a fabric is made and what material it is made from. Woven fabrics start with straight grain fibers. They are the fibers that run parallel to your fabric selvage edge, and they are also known as the warp. Woven between your straight grain fibers is one or more continuous fibers. This is your cross grain and is perpendicular to your selvage. The diagonal between your straight grain and your cross grain is the bias. The process of weaving fibers to make fabric gives very little mechanical stretch in the cross grain direction and no mechanical stretch in the straight grain direction. However, the bias will have mechanical stretch as it is the cross point of the fibers and therefore not stabilized. With that said, if stretchy substrates are used or blended in when weaving, the fabric will have some stretch as a result of using those materials. Examples of substrates that have stretchy properties are elastane, spandex, and lycra. To help me explain the properties of knit fabric, we are going to look at this swatch knit in this yarn with these needles. Though this is likely on a much bigger scale and perhaps using a more simple stitch pattern, this will give us a great zoomed in view of a knit fabric. It is knit from one continuous piece of fiber, being looped into itself from the bottom up. The continuous looping of the fiber creates little bits of space between the stitches and eventually allows the fabric to be stretched horizontally and vertically. Because this stretch is created within the making of the fabric and is not specifically from the substrate used, it is referred to as mechanical stretch. Of course, if you used or blended in a substrate that had implicit stretch, it would have an even greater stretch percentage. Of course, that's only a small percentage of knowledge on the subject, and other characteristics such as weight of the fabrics or tightness of the weave can affect your final garment outcome. Let's take a couple of examples.
So you can see I've enlisted my trusty friend here, Aminta. She helps me all the time with my sewing projects, and today she's going to help me demonstrate for you all some different fabric properties for different fabrics. Let's take the Arnite pants as an example. This is a pattern by Sew Liberated. Let me give you a little zoom in on that. They're loose-fitting casual pants, so we want something that's going to be appropriate for bottom weight. And that means we're going to be looking at fabrics that are medium or heavy. We wouldn't want something that was too light or too sheer because we are going to be sitting in these, and you want something that's just a little bit more durable. So the first example I have is this stone-washed linen. You can see right now that it's quite drapey. This is actually listed as a heavy fabric. It is woven. It does not have any stretch components to it. So you can see as I drape this fabric on Aminta, it does kind of drape. It has a little bit of a drape. So the slouchy pockets in the Arnite pants are definitely going to have that slouchy feel, and it's going to be a little bit more relaxed. The second fabric I chose is this Robert Kaufman chambray, and this is 100% cotton. It's got a little bit more of a crisper feel, but it's still got a drape to it, and it's listed as medium weight on our website. So if we look at these both side by side, you can see that they're both opaque. They have a nice weight to them. This one is a little bit lighter in weight than this one. I would say that this one is ever so slightly more drapey. This one has a little bit of a crispness to it. So, you know, if you made up the Arnite pants in this fabric, those pockets might stand out away from your body a little bit more. So that's just something to think about when you're choosing your fabrics for these projects. Next up is the Elodie dress by Closet Core Pattern. Let me give you a little zoom in on this. It is a wrap dress, very summery. You could have it floaty, you could have it really drapey, like in a silk. You could even have it maybe a little bit sheer with something underneath. Definitely you want to think of fabrics that are not too heavy in weight. So something that you would want to wear in the spring or summertime. I wouldn't particularly want to make this dress in a wool coating, for example. I would want to think of something that's more light and airy, like a lawn or a rayon or a viscose. Silk would be great as well. So let me show you a couple of examples that I chose for this one. 100% medium weight viscose twill fabric by Mind to the Maker Fabrics. It is very soft, opaque, you wouldn't have to line it, and it is very, very drapey and light, but it still has a little bit of a heft to it. So if I just put this on a Minta, you can see right away it just falls down the body. It has a little bit of weight to it that's keeping it down, and then of course it's very, very drapey. You could also obviously use this for anything that had a cowl neck or a lot of kind of gathers and soft pleats if you wanted to do that. So we'll leave this here and let me show you my second fabric choice. Beautiful Tana Lawn by Liberty London. It is 100% cotton and it is so light and airy. You could just imagine a breeze picking this up and wafting it. And it is a little bit more crisp than this rayon twill. The weave in this is a little bit tighter, so it definitely can kind of hold its shape a little bit more. So let me just throw this on a Minta so we can see them side by side. This Tana Lawn has a little bit more body to it, even though it's lightweight. It can actually kind of like hold these drapes and folds, whereas this twill viscose really wants to just kind of melt upon itself. You can see it even wants to melt right off of a Minta. So side by side, these would both be great picks. I would say that this one's a little bit more light and airy and floaty, and this one is a little bit more romantic and sweeping and drapey. All right, let's take a knit pattern as an example now. I have the Thread Theory Sayward Raglan. This is a men's pattern. You can see it has a long sleeve and a short sleeve t-shirt option. And these are the line drawings on both sides. And this pattern, because it's a knit and it's a somewhat closer fitting t-shirt pattern, it has some requirements. So it needs at least 20% stretch in the crosswise direction. So of course we know that means that it either has to have those characteristics because of the way that the fabric was knitted, or it has to have some sort of component within the substrates that make up the fabric that would give it a lot of stretch. So the first fabric that I chose as an example for this t-shirt pattern is this polyester viscose blend. It has 20% stretch in the width direction and a lesser 10% stretch in the length direction. And of course, when we're talking about the stretch requirements for a garment, we want to make sure that we're matching what it's asking for. So if it doesn't specify, it's probably the width direction, because these are garments we want to make sure that they breathe with us, they allow us room to eat and move, etc. So I'm just going to throw this on a Minta and we can see how it looks. You can see very lightweight, looks very comfortable. I would wear a t-shirt in this any day. So the second fabric that I chose for this pattern is a cotton jersey knit. It has 5% elastane and 95% cotton, and it has 30% stretch in the width direction and a lesser 20% stretch in the length direction. So again, this definitely meets the requirements of the pattern, which is 20% stretch and then some. It has a little bit more. Because it has a little bit more stretch, you could actually probably size down if you wanted, or you could make an even closer fitting pattern, such as this Tilly and the Buttons Agnes shirt that I am wearing today. And you can see side by side that this star fabric has a little bit more heft to it and stretch, and this stripe pattern has a little bit less stretch but is a little bit more lighter weight. In terms of this t-shirt pattern or any t-shirt pattern, I think that these would both be great options, whether it was long sleeve or short sleeve. Sticking with a knit theme, I pulled McCall's M7839. Let me give you a close-up on that. It is a hoodie pattern, and it's also, you know, it could be a typical sweatshirt pattern. One thing that I do want to point out for you is that if you're buying one of the big four pattern companies' patterns, they do often come in multiple size ranges. So make sure that you choose the right size for you. And as I mentioned, this is a knit pattern and it calls for fabric with at least 35% stretch. So the first example that I chose for the sweatshirt pattern is this brushed fleece. It is 96% cotton and 4% elastane, and it has exactly 35% stretch as requested by the pattern. What makes it a brushed fleece is that it has this brushed backside that is super soft and definitely one of the characteristics that we think of when we think of sweatshirts. And then it has a nice smooth front side. This is medium weight and it does have a little bit of heft to it. And you can see when I drape it on a Minta, the drapes are definitely there, but they're also a bit more pronounced. So if you made something that had ruffles or gathers, this fabric could probably highlight those details well. The second fabric that I chose as an example for the sweatshirt pattern would be this soft sweater knit. This stuff is really, really soft, guys. I kind of want to make myself a nice little drapey sweatshirt out of this right now. It is a polyester cotton blend, and it actually has 90% stretch in the width direction and a little bit less in the length direction. And I just want to give you guys a close-up on this one as well because it actually is double-sided. So it has this kind of what I would describe as a honeycomb pattern on the front, and then on the back it is just a solid kind of denim blue color. But this one probably has a similar weight to this one that I've already placed on a Minta. However, it is definitely more drapey, and you can really see that as I handle the fabric. So if I just place this on a Minta, I know it's gonna wanna squirrel away, but you can see already that the folds are not as prominent in this fabric as they are in this fabric. So now that we've gone through a couple of examples, you might be saying, okay, I kind of get the concept. I understand you want to think about drape, weight, feel, opaqueness, structure, what you're going for in these different garments, but I'm still not 100% confident. I don't want to order all of my fabric for a project until I've really gotten a chance to hold it in my hands and assess these characteristics. We have a solution for you here at Minerva, and that is fabric swatches. So if there is a fabric that you think you might want to make a garment out of, but you're not quite ready to pull the trigger, you can order a swatch and they will come just like this. It will come with a little tag so that you can see the identifier information if you want to look it up on our website again. And while I have these in front of me, we can just run through some of the properties of these fabrics as well. So this pink one is a cotton poplin, and it is a tightly woven plain weave cotton fabric. It has a little bit more structure to it. It's not particularly drapey, and I'd probably characterize it as light to medium weight. Conversely, this other swatch that I have in my hand is a poly chiffon. It is super drapey, definitely lightweight. It can have kind of boho vibes, or it could be elevated and more elegant. If you didn't want your garment to be translucent, you would definitely want to line it, but you know, chiffon, it's a beautiful fabric. So now that we've gone through a number of examples and we've looked at swatches and we've talked about all the characteristics, there's one more thing that I want to share with you, which is that you have an incredible resource at your fingertips all the time, and that is ready to wear. It can either be ready to wear that's already in your closet or your partner's or friend's closet, or it could be ready to wear that is still in the store and not something that you have purchased yourself. But as you probably know, inside every single piece of clothing is a little care tag that will say exactly what substrate that garment is made out of. So if you're really curious about why one particular shirt or dress is so drapey and how they achieve that, you can always look inside the care label and see, okay, this is made out of XYZ. And that's already a huge indicator of what kind of fabric would be a good fabric to look for if you wanted to make a similar garment. Those are all the tips and tricks that I have for you today. I'm Kten with Minerva, and this was how to choose your fabric for your sewing projects. If you liked this video, please hit like and definitely hit the follow button so that you can see more tutorials coming your way. If you had any questions at all, definitely throw them in the comments section and we will get back to you. Other than that, happy sewing! Bye, friends!